Hi, everybody. I'm Mia Voss. This is Joel McDonald. How are you, sir?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm great. I'm here twice. It's so nice. I had to come back in twice.
Somehow
All
we're
right.
on YouTube. Don't know why we weren't
Okay.
on Facebook. Let's see if we are.
Well, let's see. If you are hearing us, give us a like or a love, just for giggles. And if you're joining us for the first time and you'd like to see your picture show up and all kinds of good things, go to facebook.com/StreamYard. You can give permission and you'll be able to see your comments. I see people coming in.
All
Hey,
right, there we go.
Chris. And I had to get back in here so quickly. I didn't even put a description, but you know why you're here. Joel, do you know why you're here?
I do. We're going to talk about all sorts of cool travel stuff.
We are. There's no romancing going on. We're just going to get right into it. But if you are joining us, please give a like or a love to the broadcast. Definitely not an angry face. We can't take that. I'm too delicate. I know you are too. So, and let us know if you can hear us. And then also just comment, tell us. I love to ask where you're from and where you're living now, because we get a lot of fun answers to that question, right?
Yeah. And so if you've taken a JGoot trip lately, celebrate. Tell us about it. Or if you've booked
Yeah.
one lately.
I
Always love hearing about that stuff.
I do too. Non-humble brags. Don't be humble about it. We just want to hear what this is all about. So, if you're here, you are in the JGoot Lounge, and that is Just Get Out of Town, where we teach travelers how to travel like rock stars for penny on the dollar. Just saying. And this was
Yeah.
all you're doing, wasn't it, Joel? I blame you.
Yeah, I mostly got tired of telling friends and family, like, yeah, you can travel like this too. So JGoot began solely because of that.
Yes, and that is an uptown problem that you will get when you join this group and you start, and especially if you join the actual lounge. We're in the village. If you join the lounge, by the way, I might have gotten that a little backwards, so sorry about that. You're in the village, people. See what I did? But yeah, that's one of the uptown problems you get is that people go, "How are you doing that? How are you taking those trips?" So,
Yeah,
yay.
well, and well, let's jump into that.
Okay.
How can you do that? We promised that this time we're just going to cut to the chase, no big pictures or stories or whatever. Let's talk about 3 different strategies that you can use to travel for pennies on the dollar. And to set that up, to define pennies on the dollar, this isn't like the made up Macy's sale where they say you're getting a $600 sweater that's really worth 70 for 90% off at $60.
Yeah, I
No,
hate that.
this is taking trips and paying 10% of what everyone else on the exact same plane is paying through just a few different simple strategies.
Yeah.
And a lot of people say, "Hey, can you get to the point? I want to know the trick." Those are the tricks, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's jump into it and talk about them.
We will. Let me just say, if you are going to comment, which I see people are, hi, Jill, it's 92 degrees. That is hot, hot, hot. We have someone from living in Croatia, originally from Croatia, living in Vegas. And we have Indianapolis in the house here too. So y'all, if you want to make sure that your picture shows up, if you can go to facebook.com/StreamYard, then you'll see your comments. Amber's here watching from Baltimore, and hey, Beth from Chandler. So your comments count in the drawing for the $100 fabulous card. Joel, please talk about that. And then really stop messing around. Let's get into this.
Yeah. So ask questions, chime in, challenge us about some of these prices because a lot of them are a little hard to believe. And yeah, every week we raffle off a $100 travel savings card. It's good for over 1 million different hotels and resorts worldwide. It's good for car rentals, which are great use of those savings, as well as excursions, my personal favorite. So we'll raffle that off at the end, and it's going to go to a random commenter, whether that's a question or answering someone else's question or sharing, a great JGoot trip that you've booked or whatever.
Share that. So we've got a question already, but if we're going to just jump in here, and then even if we don't get to your question, everybody's going to be answering one another. I promise it's going to be good. We have all kinds of good people here. So Joel, let her rip.
All right. So we're going to talk about 3 different things. 2 of these, if you've attended our live streams, you should probably know. And if not, we're just going to reiterate them. But rule number 1 is look every day, whether you're planning a trip or not. We're gonna get into a kind of choose your adventure section after this, where you can say, hey, tell me about that Hawaii trip for $22, or tell me about any of the trips that I've taken or some of our clients are taking. And we'll talk about whether that was rule 1 or rule 2 or a combination of both or whatever. But don't let the simplicity fool you. Look every day. Look for the best 1% of deals out there. Typically, in our guide section, we have a section called the $120 rule, where we teach you how to know what not a good deal, but a screaming deal is.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for every day. And those deals that are among the best 1% of trips out there, they pop up every day. By definition, there is always a cheapest 1%. You just have to have the discipline to find it.
It's a fun game to play. It turns into a fun game to play. Look at Lisa says, I've seen so many great deals from Indiana. I'm assuming I mean, once you start looking, it's like when you're shopping for a car and like, oh, I'm looking specifically for this car. What do you see everywhere? That car. Mm-hmm. So I do think that once you get into the habit, so dive in, keep going.
Yeah. And I like to call that travel through osmosis. I mean, you just can't help but travel more often. And, maybe it takes a few days, maybe it takes a few weeks, but you take 30, 60 seconds a day, look over the best deals. You can go to your favorite search engine, Google Flights. There's a feature called the Anywhere feature. Leave the destination blank, enter the dates you want to go. They will tell you the cheapest price to every destination in the world. Pick one. Yeah. And suddenly you see these dirt cheap flights that you think are mistakes because they're that cheap, and you book them. Maybe you adjust your calendar. Maybe you when we went to Costa Rica, the whole trip for 4 of us flying first class and staying at first class resorts cost us $1,500, $375 a piece. It was a $12,000 vacation. And the only accommodations or the only adjustments we had to make were, I had to change a dentist appointment. Why? Because I saved $11,000 on our vacation.
Right.
But just by looking every day and being open to going where the deals are, the savings you can realize are just unbelievable. And all it takes is once or twice. Of course, a lot of people are probably thinking, yeah, but I don't have that flexibility. Well, if you go to Google Flights, you can enter the dates that you want. So you can go on whatever dates work with your schedule.
Right.
Now that's not going to get the very, very best deals, because of course the best deals are you go when the deals are. But if you don't have that flexibility, enter the dates that you have available and go where the deals are. Most people think I'm going to go to Cabo and, because that's typically the cheapest place. You can go to Belize or sometimes Asia for less than what most people pay to go to Cabo. But it takes that just looking every day. Just like if you want to lose weight by going to the gym, it's going to be a lot more effective going every day versus going once a week.
There's that gym analogy again.
Plain and simple.
Do you mind if I pop in some of these too? So because I'm saying I struggle with finding deals from Salt Lake City. Talk about that a little bit and then keep on going.
Sure. Well, you know what? Let's come back to that.
Okay.
I promised people getting all 3 details and not holding anything back in the first 10 or 15. So let's do that. Okay. And then we can do some Q&A and get into specifics after that.
Right.
So, I hear that. And we'll definitely come back to that.
Okay.
Rule number 2 complements rule number 1 by design. Sometimes you don't have flexibility. If you have to go to a wedding or a funeral or a guy's trip or a girl's trip or a family reunion, all of those are scenarios where you don't have that flexibility. You can't go where the deal is. You can't go when the deal is. It's a wedding. You have to go to a specific place at a specific time. And Murphy's Law says that is not going to be a cheap trip. That's just the way it works because, you know, it's a
It's
supply and
usually,
demand thing. The cheap
yeah, and it's,
flights are when airplanes need to get butts in seats. Sometimes that's shoulder season, sometimes that's slow season. Plenty of times
yeah.
it's peak season, but it's a supply and demand thing. You don't have that luxury for, certain travel scenarios.
And let me throw in there too, weddings means expensive destinations,
Yeah.
right? So it's usually
Yeah.
not at
Especially
some,
those
mhm.
destination weddings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Those are going to
exactly.
cost triple. I had someone who said they had to spend $1,500 to fly to Cabo because it was a wedding.
Yeah.
And yeah, if it's a big wedding, lots of people book it, planes fill up, prices go up, supply and demand.
Gotcha.
So your fail safe is to have frequent flyer points. And I can't tell you how often. I know in this past week, we got at least 20 inquiries from people who had to go out of town for a funeral or an unexpected trip, and they're paying through the nose and they're reaching out to us hoping that we can help. We can't. But if 4 months prior, they just went and signed up for a card that's giving you 100,000 points to try their card out, you'd be going for free or just the cost of taxes. And so between the two, you've got these dirt cheap trips that are cash that don't require any points whatsoever. Those are your vacations, your things where you can tweak your dates, the times where you could go to St. Thomas instead of St. Croix, which is actually more desirable anyway. You go where the deals are. Rule 1.
Mhm.
When you don't have the luxury of going where the deals are, go and get some points. There are hundreds of cards out there. It can be overwhelming. If you go to jgoot.com/cards, we have a list of just the cards that our experts use. And our experts, we don't define someone as an expert unless they're traveling for an average of 10 to 20, maybe 25 cents on the dollar. Just go to that link, pick one of our recommended cards. The reason we recommend those, we don't get any different commissions. We get referral points for our experts, but the reason we recommend those is because those get obscene amounts of travel value.
They
You get
do.
100, 200,000 points.
Yeah, Joseph said just signed up for and congrats, Joseph. Just signed up for Sapphire, waiting for it to get the 100,000 points. I mean, that's amazing.
Good job.
Yeah.
That's what's the I use enough anecdotes. Let's leave that alone. But the hardest part is just starting. So many people think, oh, I want to pick just the right card. Pick either the Chase Sapphire, like if you're watching this video anytime recently from when it was recorded, pick the Chase Sapphire Preferred or pick the Amex Platinum. Both of those can get as much as $10,000, if not $20,000 in travel value. At the very least, you get about $1,200 in just free travel. One of our members in JGoot Lounge resisted points for forever, and they are attending a funeral this week that would have cost $2,000, and they're going for free.
Yeah.
So it's not even about cost savings. It's about time savings. For people who are listening, go ahead and chime in if you can remember the last time you had to go to a wedding, a funeral, a family reunion, a guy's trip, a girl's trip, and you weren't cursing at the airlines because they were charging you double or triple what you expected to pay. Say yes if that's been you in the last 2 or 3 trips that you took. And points come to the rescue in that case. There are no other ways other than spending hours and hours and hours trying to maybe whittle down that obscenely high cost.
And time is money. So, I mean, good God, that's worth it. Just alone. Hey, let me just comment to folks real quick. Everybody's saying yes, that they've had that experience of just spending tons of money. Somebody said, yes, we drove instead of flying. I can imagine. But let me just comment real quick. If that's not working for you on StreamYard, it's okay. We just broadcast through StreamYard. It's nice sometimes if we can see your name and your profile. But if it's not working, don't worry. We can still see. We can still see you. We just can't see who it is. So no worries on that. But for sure, I mean, look at all these. Yeah, usually 3 to 4 triple there's a lot that can happen with points, and that's not something I had thought about until I joined the J Good group. Quick question in here too, and this will be we have some really great videos on this. Somebody was curious about how many credit cards in general that J Good experts had. How many cards do we have in general? Can you speak on that real quick, because this goes along with number 2?
I can't speak for all of our experts, but I know that this has come up, and it is almost unanimous that anytime we have a new member coming in and saying, "Okay, I've already got this card. I've already got this card. What's next?"
Mm-hmm.
And everyone thinks that, oh, you need to just go and start amassing all of these points and chasing all these sign-up bonuses, and it's simply not true. Most of our experts, I would venture to guess, and any of them can chime in if they're listening in, I would venture to guess that they probably have 3, maybe 5, probably just 3 or 4 cards that they have like permanently in their wallet.
Yeah.
They don't juggle cards. Many of our members have not chased a sign-up bonus in over a year. This is not something where you're just constantly churning credit cards. What we teach inside the lounge is having an evergreen, sustainable system of cards that get you the most bang for the buck from your normal everyday spending. Now, in some cases, you might use one card for your gas and groceries and another card for your travel or whatever. But if that's just 2 or 3 cards and that gets you to free travel 3 to 5 times as fast, it's usually worth that habit change, and it's kind of like anything. If you want to perfect your golf game, perfecting your golf swing is going to feel really awkward at first, but once you get used to it, it forever improves your game. And the same goes for learning the rules to travel for 10 or 20 cents on the dollar.
We did see.
So with that said, let's get our third thing in.
Let me just mention real quick. Stanamira did post today. Oh, you can't hear me? You can't hear me? I hear me.
Okay. I think my AirPod died.
Oh, okay. There's a little bit of an echo, so I might have to mute you. We're such rock stars. We're going to keep moving on this. So Stanamira did post something today. I'm going to mute you so it's not echoey. And it was amazing. She showed that's one of our experts that's in the J Goot Lounge, and we adore her. She posted actually her credit card statement, and it showed as she was spending what the money that came back on her Amex. And it was pretty neat to see, I have to say. I was like, and that's that habit change that you're talking about, Joel. That it's just more like, okay, you can switch what cards you use for what types of things. Now, I do see wish I could put my mortgage on my Chase card, right? We feel you on that, Beth. We do. Okay, that sounds much better on your end. It's pretty good.
Okay,
so go ahead, Joel.
I moved the mic. I'll turn the volume down on my end too.
There you go.
That'll help.
Listen, let's give a shout out real quick to Brooke, who is in the comments here. Brooke is our extraordinaire of everything here at J Good, and she is popping in all the links for this. So where you can go for Google Flights, all the different information. She's got information about Plastique. I want to know what that is too, because I'm thinking explosive. So tell me about that. This is really great. Somebody says, thanks to you. It's true. I freaked out with the change. Now I have a Chase Sapphire and Amex Platinum and more than 200,000 points. So that is, yes. I don't know who that is, but I'm digging it for you. Trying to go globalist now with Hyatt, also with points. So it's so exponential. It's so exponential with that number 2 rule.
Well, let's talk about 2 things. I can't resist that 200,000 points. So now the next step, so you've got 200,000 points. That's like a get out of jail free card that you can just save. Don't go and get gift cards. Don't go and blow them on an iPad. Don't even, and what I would say is the next step is aim to not redeem them for any less than a penny and a half a piece. In fact, you should aim for at least 2 cents a piece, meaning if you're going to use 200,000 points to save you $2,000, don't do it. You're better off paying cash and saving those points for when you can redeem them for 2, 4, 10 cents a piece. In other words, 200,000 points could be worth, if you find a redemption worth 10 cents a piece, that's worth $20,000 in free travel.
That's crazy.
When anyone who's sitting on a lot of points, anyone who's thinking, 100,000 points, big deal, that's like one trip. No, that's only if you're very inefficient at redeeming them. once you get good at this, once you learn how to transfer those to other airlines where you stretch them 5 times farther, 200,000 points can literally get you around the world in first class.
Yeah.
For two of you.
Yeah, that's you. You did
or
that.
it can get you 20 trips.
Mhm.
If you've got a big family or if you prefer domestic travel, you can do anything you want. The key is to just kind of think of that as like 10 cents a point. So don't waste it on just a penny per point, which is what
Sure.
most people do. And that's why most people don't get excited about frequent flyer points.
Sure. I know when I got some points on my card or they had put in some dollars and I just transferred it over and I'm like, oh my gosh, you did nothing with that. I love how kind you are in saying, don't use it inefficiently. It's a nice way of saying, don't be really silly with your points. So I hope
Right.
that answers your question. That was Daphne that got the 200,000 points. So somebody says, wow, that's my challenge now. Yes, what's an easy, just going to throw this in here. And then we didn't forget you with that Salt Lake City question either, but keep going, Joel.
So
Where you're going to go next.
Easy. Let's see. I can't resist answering that one. And then we have the plastic one too. So easy way to calculate redemption. It's a very important best practice. So anytime you're sitting on any amount of points, 50,000, 500,000, doesn't matter. A best practice is always know what you would pay in cash. So, if you don't just go let those points burn a hole in your pocket. If you're looking at a trip, if you want to go to whatever, Europe, and that's a 500,000 or a $500 flight. Actually, that's a bad example. We find them for $250, $300. So you find a flight for $250, $300 in Europe to Europe, and that's going to take 60,000 points. Don't waste the points. That's $600 worth of points for a flight that you could pay $200 in cash for. You could literally sometimes you could get 3 flights for the points by just knowing that difference. So take the cash cost, divide it by the points you have, or the points it would take, and that's your redemption value. If it's less than 2 cents, don't waste your points. Use cash, save those points for when they're more valuable.
Yeah, no, that's great advice too, because it's a change in mindset. So it's just not, you don't want it to be equal. Like you want it to definitely be like this equals times 80,000. And that's how you got on your amazing trip to Hong Kong.
Yeah.
Correct.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was
one
outbound. It was an $8,500 flight. Returning, it was a $6,500 flight. We
lay flat,
it
folks.
For about $150.
Yeah.
Endpoints.
And that's not something that you're going to see all the time, but that's getting into the mindset of keeping an eye out and looking for these flights, right?
Right. Well, and that's where the beauty of rule 1 and 2 happens. So the more often you're looking for deals, the more often you stumble across deals, the less often you have to rely on points. One of our members just last week, and I believe he shared it in the village, family owner, or, has a family. One is still home. The other is in college. So tight window when she's home. Found a trip to Alaska, taken a long weekend to Alaska. They're in California, so that's not a huge journey. As a family of 4, because he stumbled across $158 round trip flights to Alaska.
Jeez.
So he's taking his family to Alaska for $620, $640.
Amazing.
Who cares what you have to spend on a car rental? You just got $3,000 worth of flights for $600. No points required. And if he were to do that on points, that would take at least 200,000, probably 300,000 points. So that's an example of know the value of the cash price, know the value of the points, and just aim for a minimum redemption value of 2 cents a piece. Of course, that's what we teach inside the lounge that's one of the many calculations that we teach, so that you just know that off the top of your head. And it begins to become more comfortable.
It definitely is a muscle that I see everybody building that's in the group. Can you talk about the lounge just real quick?
Sure.
Thank you.
What we've built inside JGoot Lounge is a travel coaching program, and it's basically for people who want to take their travel game to the next level.
Mhm.
You probably read the points guy. You probably are on, several point hacking travel groups. And one of two things are probably happening. You're either very overwhelmed at all of the advice that kind of comes pouring in, or it's just not clicking and you're not getting those 10 or 20 cent redemptions that everyone's talking about. We designed this as a coaching group because not everyone learns by reading a blog post. Not everyone learns when they ask, how can I get a good value? And then 50 different people who you don't know who's an expert and who's not gives their advice on their opinion, which probably means nothing at all because they live in a different place and they traveled at a different time. So what we do is we kind of teach in an watch over our shoulder fashion where I or any of our experts say, here's how I booked this trip to Thailand in first class for $500 for two of us. And we literally just walk through those steps. And we break down different rules of thumb. And our goal is to teach you to fish, not to hold your hand and hand you a trip on a silver platter. It's to
Right.
teach you the skills that it takes so you can fly and stay for an average of 10 or 20 cents on the dollar for the rest of your life. And Brooke is sharing a bunch of videos that help. We've got the guide section that are introductory teasers to our higher level coaching program. And so, as Mia's showing in the comments below, just type interested in the comments, and Brooke will reach out. She'll ask a few questions, see what your travel lifestyle is like, and see if it's even a fit. It's a coaching program with coaching prices. So it's not a fit for someone who just wants to go to Vegas once a year or Disney World once a year. But, if you travel internationally, if you prefer first class, our course typically pays for itself in the first trip. So type interested, we'll reach out to you, see if it's a fit. And if it's not, we'll direct you to some free resources that'll help get you there.
And there are a ton of resources. We do the show every Monday, you and me, and then you have a bunch of live streams throughout the week as well, both in this group, which is the Village, is where you are right now, and then the Lounge, which is where this coaching program is. And that lounge is just like it sounds. It's pretty fancy. And I love all the stories that they share about the different deals that they get to. So somebody wanted you to clarify again. Did you say cash cost divided by points equals redemption value?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you for that. Yes.
So just look up what it would cost to fly there. If it's a trip to Cabo and you're getting you're getting what seems like a good deal at $200 and it takes 50,000 points to get there. That's a really expensive redemption.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting far less than you're getting about a third of a penny a piece. Not good. That's throwing those hard-earned points away. What you want is to take 100,000 points and book yourself a flight that would cost $4,000 or $5,000 or $10,000 in first class, and that's a luxury most people wouldn't even think of paying real money for. But when it's points, piece of cake.
Monopoly money.
Yeah.
I will say, once you get burned a few times of not making the right decision with your points or with your travel, you definitely learn, but you learn even more when you do get these great deals. Talk about some more of them. Let's spin the wheel. Let's spin the globe and talk about some of your adventures.
Yeah. You know what? Let's, let me see. Can I share my screen?
Yes.
So let's do two things. I'm going to share my screen and just kind of show my personal scrapbook of trips that I've taken. And we'll just kind of go with popular opinion. Look through these trips and let me know what one sounds interesting, one you'd like to take. And I'll tell you which of the two strategies I did. And as we're kind of taking that poll, just chime in with the location. I've mostly been to most of these locations just once. And we can tell more about that and how you can kind of apply one or the other strategy to do the same for yourself.
Scroll back up a little bit so we can see that ones. I didn't realize you put in the video of you doing the the belly flop. Scroll up a little bit and then we can see those too. There's
Okay, I'll
amazing.
start
So
over again.
Singapore. Yes. This is a
And
fun
so
little
as we're doing
compilation.
that, let me just share the third thing. And this is not so much a strategy, but it's a very important hurdle that I had to get past, that a lot of our clients have to get past. And that is thinking of travel the way you always have. And so many people have these assumptions of, oh, well, that's all last minute travel. I don't have that luxury. Or, I had a points card where once it didn't work for me. These are all things that we, our medulla oblongata in our brain is telling us, like, no, be skeptical because I've tried that and it didn't work. But with practice, all of these rules change. When you have points and you know how to use them, the whole world changes with what you're willing to spend on travel. When you look every day, most people don't look every day. Most people chime in if this is correct. Most people say, let's go to Cabo this summer. And they start looking maybe 2 months beforehand. They get discouraged with what prices are, and they end up maybe going to Cancun or settling on Phoenix. Or nothing wrong with Phoenix, but it's not
Right now.
the exotic Cabo trip that they were hoping for. Whereas if you look every day, these deals tend to just plan themselves. So there are a lot of things that you just need to let go of. It's not possible to find those deals. Yeah, it is. They're out there every day. I saw a question earlier. What is the Google Anywhere feature? Just go to Google Flights and don't enter a destination. And that's basically telling Google, take me anywhere. And you can enter your dates and you can leave that destination blank, and they will tell you the cheapest flights to everywhere in the world. And you pick one. And 9 times out of 10, it's going to be cheaper than you expected.
Yep.
The cheapest 1% of deals out there. Now, if you just zero in on Cancun, well, then you're going to be just like everyone else. But if you say, take me anywhere, and you see that you can go to Alaska for $158, guess what? You're going on a fishing trip in Alaska for a quarter of what everyone else is going to pay to go to Cabo because they thought it was the cheapest deal.
Yep. All right. I'm stopping you now because we've got a lot of requests out here.
All right.
So Brooke is saying Hawaii is the most popular. I do want to say, and Brooke answered that Joel is flying out of Denver, but we will talk about that as well, of like finding alternative places, right? Like answering the Salt Lake City.
Yep.
Maybe there's something else that she can, another airport. So jump in and Hawaii. There we go. Look at that. Oh my gosh.
So Hawaii was, this was the beginning of rule number 2 for the JGoot way of travel. I had been very good at finding good deals for cash for years. That's how I traveled. For anyone who knows my story, it got me in trouble for how often I traveled while going through a divorce. And divorce lawyers were saying, you can't be traveling that much. You're hiding money. Well, here are my receipts. I'm just good at finding good deals. Well, one thing happened when I remarried. We went on a family moon, and that family moon cost me a fortune on flights. And I said, it drove me crazy. I'm good at finding good deals, but since I painted myself into a corner, I booked a cruise thinking it was a good deal. I paid through the nose for our flights. I paid, I believe, double for our flights just to get to Miami as what we paid for an all-inclusive week-long cruise.
That hurts.
And it was at that point where I knew the value of points. I ran a real estate business. I spent lots of money, and I earned a penny per point. So I knew how powerful points can be. And I also knew that I could learn the rules to kind of hack that system and do even better. And so Hawaii was our first trip after doing that. So we got burned. We paid through the nose to fly to Miami. And I said, never again. I'm never doing that again. I did some research. I picked a card that was going to get us to Hawaii because my wife really wanted to go there. And cash prices were insane. They were anywhere from $900 to $1,500 for coach flights because of the timing when we want to go. So instead, I signed up for one credit card. I figured out what to do with the points that I earned for that one credit card. I transferred them outside of the Chase portal. It was a Chase card. I transferred them to an airline. What airline doesn't matter because that loophole is now closed. Other ones have opened. And we booked 2 round trip coach flights that were $13.26 for that exact flight. And we paid $22 in taxes. And it took a total of 50,000 points. So penny per rule, that's a minimum of $500 worth of points. So don't ever waste points for less than a penny per piece. But in this case, I got 2 $1,300 flights. So $2,600 worth of flights for $500 worth of points. So there's all sorts of math there. People say, oh, I'd rather have cash back and put it in a mutual fund. You can't put something in a mutual fund, $500 worth of cash back in a mutual fund and have $2,600 3 months later.
Yeah, that's
not possible. I don't care how good a stockbroker you have. Not possible.
Not even Bernie Madoff could have done it that well. I'm just saying. Somebody
so
said
this is entirely rule number 2.
It's
go and get the points. And don't wait. Just go and get them. Just go get them so you have them when you need them. And then B, that's where the nuance comes in. That's why our coaching program exists. That's learning how to transfer those points for maximum value.
We have can you explain how you calculated that $500 worth of points?
So that was about a 5-cent valuation per point. I used 50,000 points to buy 2 tickets at $13.26. That would have cost $1,326 in cash for that exact same flight. Since I used 50,000 points, I divided 2,650 divided by 50,000 points. That comes out to a nickel a piece. So I got a 5-cent redemption. So that's 5 times as valuable as that, 1% cash back.
Gotcha. Now that was using rule number 2. Do you want to choose one? We had a lot of requests here, but do you want to choose one that is rule number 1? Yep, Aruba was the first choice.
I saw that.
Yeah.
So this was when Michelle and I were engaged. And Michelle's a teacher, so she fits that category of families and teachers and people who can only travel during peak time. This was in the middle of summer. So, we did have the luxury where she didn't have to worry about days off. She did have some other commitments, but I basically said, because I was already in the practice of just looking every day, I stumbled across cheap flights to Aruba. Hey, let's dig a little deeper. Found some dates that I knew that we didn't have too many commitments. And I said, hey, sweetie, what are we doing 3rd week of July? She said, I don't think anything. Why? And I said, because I found $192 flights to Aruba. That's it. Plain and simple. That's rule number 1.
Dang.
Right
Those
after
are magic
we booked
words.
that flight, we bundled that with a hotel. The whole trip cost us about $1,200. We stayed at a luxury resort. This is called Pelican or Flamingo Island. It's got its own enclosed area. They've got flamingos, they've got iguanas, they've got little feeder things that come out of gumball machines that you just feed them. They had their own boat.
So Joel, those aren't
that drove us to the island.
Those aren't plastic, then, right, Joel?
Sorry,
those aren't plastic. Your little.
Those are real flamingos.
That's amazing. So this was all this Aruba trip for 192.
Right.
Jeez.
I'm sorry. That was just flights.
The flights, yes.
And then flight plus hotel was about $1,200 for 6 nights. At a very nice 4-star. I don't think it was 5-star, but very nice. It was the Renaissance in Aruba. And so that was kind of like Michelle's introduction to the Jagut way of travel. That was the same. We did the same, and this was actually over Thanksgiving, so another peak travel time.
Right.
This was also when we were dating. By then, she knew kind of my style, and I said, "Hey, what are we doing Thanksgiving weekend?" She's like, "Where are we going?"
No, she knew.
Yeah. And so that was also, I think that was 1,100. No, that was more. That was like 1,400 for 5 days at an all-inclusive resort in Cabo, including airfare uh, and lodging for all-inclusive. So, and that's the cool part. When you find flights for $100 that are international, it gives you a lot more leeway on what you're willing to spend on resorts. So we stayed at a nicer resort than was in the budget. Now that brings up rule number 3. Sometimes you're just going to have to be flexible. And in this case, she did have to take a day off. And when teachers do that, it's an unpaid day. But again, the very next day, those flights were or if we left a day earlier, those flights would have been $500 more expensive a piece. So unpaid day off, save $1,000. Most people would rather save $1,000 and take an unpaid day off.
It's definitely a flip on your mindset, which I love. So yes, if you're saving money and you're traveling to Cabo that inexpensively, yes, then you can spend more money on the hotel, on the excursions, and so forth. And then to be clear, these prices, of course, were probably from Denver, right? But
Correct.
that is the Jay Goot way, though, that you're going to figure out what your airport is from. And talk real quickly, if you could, I'm going to make you answer that Salt Lake City question.
Okay.
What if you can't? She's saying I can't find any good deals from SLC. So for you too, are you sometimes finding good deals? I think Brooke mentioned here that sometimes you do fly out of Chicago, and you can just find a cheaper flight. I mean, we can get to Chicago here from Denver on Frontier or any other, but even Southwest pretty cheaply. So talk about how you use that alternative way of traveling.
Sure. So, so that's getting a little bit more into advanced travel. And in my opinion, it's really only necessary if your goal is for first class.
Okay.
For, flying to Hawaii, you can find deals out of Salt Lake. You can find deals out of Nashville. One of our members is going to Hawaii from Nashville. And again, the big thing is getting rid of that assumption that, I'm in a small airport. Now, small regional, yes, those are always going to be more expensive because you have nothing but puddle jumpers to get you out of that airport. But assuming it's a reasonable sized airport that has larger than puddle jumper airplanes, you can find reasonable flights. And the key is that consistency. I would take I've said this before, I'll say it again. I would take a 90-year-old grandma who's never used a computer, teach her to look every day, and she could outperform the savviest traveler who just waits until 2 months before a trip to plan a trip. They're out there every day. And Google Flights is a great one. It kills 2 birds with 1 stone. You can enter ideal dates. You leave the destination blank. You let them tell you where the deals are, and you go there. It's not that hard. The hardest part is the discipline of bookmarking that page and just going and checking it and spending 60 seconds a day looking. And I guarantee the cumulative amount of time, that 365 minutes a year that you spend, is still going to be less time than most people spend beating their head against a wall trying to get out of town the traditional way.
As you can tell here in the group, we're all about time is money. And let me loop in here real quick. If you are interested in our travel coaching program, that is one of the things that you do get. Isn't that correct, Joel? That we get our little 6 a.m. here in Denver notification of the really great flights that are coming out of the airport that you choose. So that's what I do every morning. There's my little bit of time. I just go, start looking through it and see. That's the noise I make. Start looking through it to see what flights I would like to go on. So we're at about, we have about 10 minutes left. So if you could keep your comments going, because we're going to choose a winner for the travel gift card, Joel, right?
Yes.
And that is we're going to do a random number. So Brooke is giving me the number of comments. So in about 5 minutes, we're going to do that. Let me throw 2 more questions just to really mix it up for you. Brooke just gave this to me over here because I missed these 2. One says, what is the best way to find 5 and 10 cent per mile flights? And which airlines do you suggest moving Chase points to? I'm just going to throw that in there for you.
So unfortunately, there's the best airline to move Chase points to. there is no easy answer. It depends on where you're flying from. That may require some advanced topics of positioning flights. That means getting yourself to another airport. That number is always changing.
Yes.
When we went to Costa Rica, we transferred to Air Canada, which allowed us to book on United, and we went first class for 50,000 points. So $500 worth of points, which is less than what most people would pay for a coach flight. And it was $2,000 flights for 4 of us. And that was this Costa Rica trip. So flights, $132 a piece plus points. And then our hotel.
Yeah, we have a video of that, by the way.
Yeah.
That was insane.
And so that was entirely a Rule 2 trip.
Yes.
Which you can't do until you accumulate those points. But once you have them, it gives you that luxury. The other question was...
this was, what airlines do you suggest moving Chase points to?
Okay, yeah. And that's, like I said, those rules change all the time. In that case, Air Canada was where I moved my Amex points to. And you have to, it depends on which one you're with. But typically it's going to be what I call second tier transfers. So it's not Delta, it's not United, it's not Southwest. It's partner airlines that are partners with those bigger companies. And we have a whole section. We have spreadsheets, we have rules, we have
a lot.
we have materials so that you can, again, the goal is to teach you to fish, not to give you a one-time thing that will stop working 3 months from now.
Yes. And it is a muscle. I keep saying that too. So you'll know that, don't feel overwhelmed. Brooke has said that. And I love that we've all been in that space where it just feels, like fire hose, wide eyeball feeling. But really once you get going on this, it builds so exponentially. Let me throw in a couple more things here, and then we're gonna pull for the card here. Somebody had mentioned, and this is kind of a bummer, but what happens if you book your flights and something comes up, you have to change the date of departure? Do you lose those points?
Depends entirely on the airline. Most have been very, very lenient because of current circumstances, but those are all things that you just want to verify on the cancellation policy. Sometimes if you book the bare bones basic economy seat, those are non-refundable. Non-refundable does not mean you don't get your money back, but it does mean you're stuck with that airline. So those are things you want to just decide on a case-by-case basis, which you do in the research process after you find the deal. And then you weigh the options of refundability, cancel policies, etc. Yes.
And I love this. Brooke says she sets her alarm, checks it at the same time every day. Jared wanted to know if that is free for getting that notification from us. That is part of the Jay Goot Lounge program, correct?
Correct. So we try to teach by example. And we realize that this is a new habit. And it's kind of like if we were a personal trainer and telling you need to do 100 push-ups a day. Well, we do those push-ups for you during your membership to show you how powerful it is. So we have analysts that go and find these. We send a highlight list of 3 to 5 deals that we found that our analysts determined were so good that you'd be silly to waste points on them, even if you had 1 million points. And so that way, like, you kind of ease into it. If your daily email sends you an alert, it pretty much means I don't even need to do the math. You can practice the math, but you don't need to do it. We found it at a price that's so cheap that it won't be a better deal on points.
Exactly. I love this comment from Joseph. I check every day, and now I got a card to get points, taking baby steps to get to savvy traveler status. Joseph, we love you for that. That's perfect. And we're going to end up here, and then we're going to choose for that. Thank you for answering the 80-20 rule. Yes, somebody asked, did we get to all of the rules? Let's do a quick overview. Then we're going to choose the random comment, and then we're going to get out of here.
All right. Yeah. So it's 2 rules, 1 very strong recommendation. So rule number 1, look every day, whether you're planning a trip or not. I can't stress the importance of that enough. I mean, you just stumble across deals. I think I forgot to mention it, but Mira, who we also have a famous video of,
We do.
her famous $900 around the world in mostly business class trip
Insane.
was the impetus to that was when she stumbled across a $90 flight to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So she got halfway around the world for $90. That makes the rest of the trip a lot easier. So you know, a lot of these things can't happen without looking, because Murphy's Law says, and I mean, we saw it in the village. She shared it inside the lounge. 5 or 6 of our members booked that trip. By the time it got out to the village, the deal was gone. So you have to look, yes, $90 to Japan. You have to look every day. No one's going to do that looking for you. No travel agent is going to spend that time to take what, a $10 commission. It's just, you have to do it. It's kind of like working out. You know, no one's going to get that benefit but you.
Then you get the endorphin rush with your travels. And then I will say that Mira was a former travel agent as well. So you have to see the irony in that as well. All right. Are you ready?
Rule 2, have points. We've beat that to death. But again, sometimes there will be times where you can't find a good deal. Have those points. And then suggestion number 3 is let go of all of those assumptions. I saw several of them in the comments where people are saying, this sounds like a lot to absorb, sounds like a lot of trouble. What I would pose is, how much more trouble is it than that last trip you took for a wedding or funeral and couldn't find trips that were going to cost less than $2,500? How much time did you waste on that? And how many times is that going to happen in the future? And by just trying something different and learning a new way to do this, you can eliminate those problems. And like I said, one of our members is unfortunately attending a funeral right now, but fortunately not having to spend $2,000 that wasn't in the budget for that trip. And they're going for free or the cost of taxes, which is negligible.
And let's end on this, and then we're going to pull our random number that travel costs are going up. I mean, it is really, people are seeing the increases already. So if you can book these trips now, get them booked, Mark, even further out. Oh my gosh, you're really going to be pleased with yourself if you've got these trips booked, because what do you think the percentage is, or what are you seeing as far as costs going up in flights?
You know, I think we've already seen like the $9 to $29 fares are gone domestically.
Yeah.
Those can still be found for 40 or 50. But, you know, I mean, just that as a benchmark, they've gone up by over 50%. Wow. I think the same is true in Europe. It's even more so in Asia. And I think as the whole world starts traveling again, the laws of supply and demand are going to drive those up even more. And that's not a plug for us. That's a plug for book those trips that you think you're going to take. You can always figure out canceling them or rescheduling them. But once those prices go up, the problems are going to be way worse post-COVID than they were before COVID, as far as prices go.
Absolutely. All right. Are you ready? And somebody says real quick, I'm a travel agent and all pricing has gone up significantly post-COVID. So there you go, right there. That is your thing. Okay. So you have the travel card. This is for a $100 travel gift card that can be used for so much stuff, Joel.
Yes.
Hold that up there. Okay, this is for comment number, drum roll. Comment number 171, ladies and gentlemen. And Brooke will count through the comments because she's amazing. Yes, and we will get in touch with whomever commenter number 171 was. So we do appreciate all of the different comments, the questions. Even after the show, we'll go back through and take a look through everything. And then if you're watching in the replay, you'll be able to see a lot of the answers in the comments as well. So don't sell yourself short and think that you missed out, because you didn't. You're still here. So that's it. Joel, what's coming up this week?
We are actually, we're getting back to basics on rule 1. We've got so many new members in the coaching program. We're getting back to basics. Where to look. Google Flights is sometimes the case. Kayak is sometimes the case. There's a site called Airfare Watchdog. We're going to break those down in terms of like what's best for you based on your needs. They all have their subtle differences, and depending on your needs, you might check one or the other every day. So
Yeah.
we're covering that. We've got office hours where
Yeah.
we just
We have
answer
happy
whatever
hour.
questions our members have. And
Don't we have happy hour too?
I think that's next week.
Is it
I think
next
this
week?
one was
Okay.
last week, but yeah,
Okay.
every other week is happy hour.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in. Keep your comments going, even if you're watching in the replay. We do this every week. We may be a little bit earlier next week, so stay tuned for the timing and sign up for updates too. Right, Joel? They can get in on some updates. Do we have the email they can sign up at?
Yeah,
For
well, so everyone in this group has probably seen it, but you can make sure that you're in the, if you're watching on YouTube or elsewhere, you can go to jgutvillage.com and we'll alert you whenever we do live trainings like this.
yes.
Of course, if you're interested in the next level, our coaching program, I saw someone say, how do I get that? Just type interested.
Yep.
We'll have someone talk to you, see if it's a fit, and we can go from there.
And this makes my day. We're going to end on that, feeling empowered already. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Take care. See you next
Thank
time.
you.
Thanks.